you wear a hat, but you know what I'm saying. It's a figure of speech.
So I was the one who put it on the agenda. So my question is, can we advertise on the website that we're looking for people to be appointed to these positions? Because maybe the people that you appointed before didn't want to be videotaped and didn't want to be a part of that, but we need to have more community involvement in these particular things. So if we could maybe advertise on the website, I think it would be helpful. Maybe we could try to recommission them and start it back up.
We're not recommissioning anybody. I mean, some of
I used the wrong word.
As a matter of fact, some of those residents have even moved out of the community.
Right.
A couple of them have even passed away.
I used the wrong word, so forgive me for that.
That's okay.
What I'm saying is those organizations were created by ordinance. So they are positions that need to be appointed, people need to be appointed to. So we need to have more community involvement. So if we could advertise on the website, I think might be helpful. Maybe we might get some takers that would want to be involved in the community a little bit more, so maybe we could do more things.
I agree with you. That probably wouldn't hurt. Let's make a second shot at seeing if we can make this work out for us. They are mayoral appointments. I don't have any problem with appointing people if they want to participate. I want this to be something where it's going to be a friendly organization rather than something that becomes, they don't want to be videotaped.
They don't want to do it because
Plain and simple. It's somewhat of a regulatory board. Once they make the appointment, we have the ordinances in place. Those appointments can in fact take place, and they would have to post a notice that they're meeting. We would have to do the same thing that they're going to, like the Historic Commission does in the press, that these meetings are going to be taking place, because now it's a regulatory body. It's just been kind of like left in limbo. I'm not necessarily also sure that it was a good idea on my part in the first place to do this. I thought that there was definitely some interest and support in it, but as I come to find out, it turns out that there was no support for it. So we did an ordinance. If we have to do away with the ordinance, I don't see how that benefits the town, because then if we decide that we want to do that at a later time, then you got to start the process all over. Would you agree with that, Randy?
Yeah, I do, Mayor.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a veteran and a senior citizen, and I'd serve on either one or both.
And there's nothing that could stop you from that. I mean,
well, it requires a mayoral appointment, you said.
Let's put the notice on our website, and maybe when we have our next quarterly report, we'll put it in there as well. And if there's any interest in it, people will send in a letter to the city, and we'll see what happens. They can contact me at any time. I've always taken all calls from all residents in the community. I've never not returned a call in all these years. I've never not returned a call, and I have no intentions ever to not return a call. So. I'm open to the suggestion, and I'm open to the idea. Let's revisit this year and see what happens and what shakes out of it. That's all. Okay, good idea, Betsy. Thank you.
Make a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Second.
We have other business, do we not? Hold on.
9:17.
We have issue number 7, the animal hoarding.
Motion and a second.
Wait a minute. We still have more business that we haven't finished up with yet.
But it's time.
Well, so what are we going to do? We're going to have yet another discussion? I mean, one of them here is something that we've been talking about for a while. Randy brought it up to my attention. We can't let the entity hang any longer if we're going to do something, if we're not.
Well, if you're referring to the Pearson request for the ordinance, that can be carried to next week.
I'm sorry, Randy, you seem to have just faded in and out. Say that again.
Referring to the amendment to the excavation ordinance, that can be carried to next week. We have a meeting in a week, don't we?
Yes.
On or about. What's the date? March what, Judge?
March 3rd.
March the 3rd. Okay.
There's a motion.
There's another one that I think that, I'm gonna just single-handedly want to take this one out. I think we have to make a decision. Is the council in agreement that we move forward with a LEAP application? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna make a motion that we move forward.
There's already a motion out here.
There's already a motion, Mayor.
Nelson, please. This is a very important issue for our public safety of our town.
There's a motion on the floor.
You would
Mayor.
rather discuss more to argue that stop me from making this,
What are you
happen.
doing? There's a motion on the floor.
I'm asking, Mr. Stillman, could you please withdraw that motion so we can just finalize with the LEAP, thing here, please? This is very important to the city. This is very important business. It's very time sensitive.
You're muted,
No.
Miss.
No. He also stated, if you were listening, that we have until June 30th now.
That is incorrect because he also said it's time sensitive. It's going to be on a first come, first served basis. There's $10 million all told. And the longer that we delay, the less chance that we have of being able to get, that is insane.
Mayor,
Mr.
there's
Formica.
a second.
Who made the motion and who seconded it?
I don't even know.
Mr. Dillon made the motion and I seconded it.
And that was to,
Open
go
the public.
public.
Go into the public and, I guess we're just not going to do this LEAP thing here. 10 days is going to go by to our next meeting and we are significantly reducing our chances of being able to get this. That is insane. The opportunity to get $150,000 of a grant and you're saying no.
Motion and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
All right. I can't tell who voted no. The mayor did, I know. And
Mr.
Mr.
Olson, we are blowing a golden opportunity to get $150,000 and get up to 2 dump trucks and the city says no.
Vote for Joe, vote for Joe, vote for Joe. We're not doing anything. You just told us that it's the deadline.
That's what this is all,
Friday, June
Mr.
30th.
Nelson, that's what this has been all about. Every meeting, you just simply want to belittle me and it's all about your upcoming
Stop
election.
it.
It's
Stick
All right,
with
we have
the
the
like you
motion
said.
and a second.
Nelson,
Stick
we're
with
not
city
doing, we're not doing
business.
city business.
Mr.
We're
Lafferty,
not doing city business.
Okay, there was a motion on the floor to open the meeting to the public. So
please,
let's
please.
open the meeting to the public.
It passed 3-2.
Yes,
Okay.
it did.
Now open to the public. Who would like to speak? Mr. Pogue.
Thank you. The first thing is I would recommend before you make a motion, adopt a motion to go ahead on the LEAP, that you look first at what the actual guidelines say. I think you will find at least a couple of things of interest. One is that it appears that it is a reimbursable grant. You have to spend the money first. Second, salaries appear not to be included. So that's the implementation grant, which is the ones being talked about. If I'm wrong, so be it. But I think you want to take a look at what those actual guidelines are before you would make any motion to go ahead. And certainly you would want to have that information, as was talked about by others, for what the other shared services are along the island where the county's doing its snow removal.
They have a contract with those municipalities. And secondly, Creedy, quite frankly, with all due respect, you are wrong because Ms. Blumenthal has all that information. We are fully aware. I've got many hours of discussion. We're fully aware. We have to have the numerical amount of money with the salaries, with the truck. We have to be specific about what the costs are going to be. It's not just simply bing, bang, boom, we're going to apply. There's a long laundry list of things that we're going to do. I'm just simply wanting to have council move forward to authorize Ms. Bloomberg, jeez, it's getting late. To have Jennifer make the application so that way there we can move forward with it. Council wants to delay it. I mean,
Again, with all, I'm sorry, I thought it was public time. Again, with all respect, the guidelines are on the state website. Y'all can look at it. And I am sure that if I am completely mistaken in what I read, you all, someone or multiple someones, will be more than happy to correct me at some near point. But if your motion, and the thing is, there's a difference between, hey, let's look into it, which anybody can, you can just do that, versus you're going to go file an application. Those are two very different things. Anyway, regarding resolution 41, what was the amount?
Mr. Pogue, that information is available through an Oprah request.
Mr. Lafferty, with all respect, you're telling me that in the midst of the public meeting where the council just voted for the settlement of a lawsuit, that I have to turn around and go file an Oprah request to go find that out because we don't want to say it right now in public?
I'm telling you that there is a confidentiality provision as part of the settlement documents, which precludes voluntary disclosure, and you are entitled to file an Oprah request.
All right, I will do that. Also, there was no discussion. I'm given to understand that Mrs. Seelman has given a letter of resignation. Is that going to be part of your upcoming closed session?
Yes.
And what to do next? And hopefully it will not be that the person who said that the position did not need to be full-time with benefits is turning around and wanting the position to be full-time with benefits. That would seem to create its own set of, what was that magic word, conflict?
You're incorrect again, but proceed.
That's fine. We'll see how that goes. On Facebook page, the Keeping in Touch page, it does mention that Buena Vista is having 2 dates with 3 locations for rabies clinic. March the 6th at Newtonville Fire Hall from 10 to noon, Richland Fire Hall from 1 to 3, and then on March the 20th, Collings Lakes is both 10 to noon and 1 to 3. So that may be a shared service thing to pursue. And while the newsletter deadline, we're going to ask everybody to get the stuff in by Friday, March 5th. If things go well, we would have it out the following week. So at least we'll let people know about the 20th. But you can go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Pope.
Well, thank you,
Anyone
Joe,
else
for
in the
keeping
public?
the time track. I'm the only one who
Anyone
gets that
else in the public?
privilege.
Mr. Swamp, I keep forgetting your last name.
Larry Gosson, Fifth Avenue. Thank you, Mayor. Just as an observation, there are 17 participants. I'll speak for myself. I don't know what it says about me that I sit through this meeting, but if I had any consideration about wanting to be part of it all and wanting to try to get involved, the example that I am left with here is just horrendous, folks. I just have to say, I don't know really what the answer is, but maybe you really ought to all take a deep breath and think about the time spent here and the fact that, as I perceive it, you went through 2 nights and still haven't accomplished now 1 full night's worth of business. We've now run through a second night, a special meeting that was called because you didn't complete the business of the last meeting, and now there's business that's going to run into the next meeting still not completed. I'm sorry for taking up any more of your time, but my word, time is precious, and you have wasted so much time here this evening. It's appalling. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for your input. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak?
Wait.
But
Give me one moment. No, I do not see,
I see we have a full screen of people that are attending here, and some of them are us, and some of them are residents, and some I'm not so sure who they are, but is there anyone else in the public?
I do not
Would like to?
anyone else.
Okay, then I guess I'll make a motion to close the public. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I now make a motion to go into executive again. Is there a second?
Okay.
And
All in favor?
I don't believe we anticipate any formal action to be taken, do we, Mayor?
Not that I'm aware of, unless somebody's going to tell me something otherwise, but I'm
No,
not
we
aware of any.
Public of that.
Excuse me?
We have to inform the public whether we anticipate formal action will be taken.
Well, Mr. Lafferty, with all due respect, that's a formality. If we're going to take any action, we're going to come out and we're going to state whatever action that we took. That's all. We're not, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware that we're going to take any action. Are you aware?
I am not.
Okay, well then let's just go into closed session. I guess you can now put us into the break room. Thank you.
On Mr. Lafferty's assurance, there won't be any formal action. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
My friend,
Yes.
with the others whomever else we've got here listening, I don't disagree with you, but keep in mind that when you admonish broadly, one only hears the others being admonished and not himself. Was I being too subtle with that, or you know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not saying everyone else was angels.
I think that could be generally applied, can it?
I'm
suppose.
just lifting that little part up there.
I suppose. Yeah. I just wonder about the dynamic and how the dynamic can be healed even now, but unfortunately that seems to be a repetitive question.
One person got 4 other people that he wanted for the first time, and this is what it is. Because before, there'd be different people with different, at least one who did not start out as an ally. Whereas these 4 were people that the one person, to some active extent, tried to get.
Don't you think the 4 are trying to protect the city?
Oh, I do. No, I don't. I do. That's part of my point, is that that's where, in what I thoroughly admit is, by definition, because we're all biased, whether we admit it or not, it's a different problem, but I certainly admit my biased judgment, is that, if this couldn't work, then the problem is the one, because there is no one in the last decades who has served with the one. And that isn't to say that any of those other people were perfect either, including myself. But none of them have a good experience to say, hey, that was great. I felt whatever good, emotions you want to attribute to it, you want to achieve. Zip. From 1995 with a 1 4-year sabbatical to the present. So I mean, you're at 22 years, and that's probably somewhere around, I don't know, 50 some odd people.
Oh, one of the things that I take from that as an observation, we were blessed actually to have Ken Hazer join us this evening, and what he said over and over again is that over the years that he has served on the Weymouth Township Committee, what I sensed, he didn't actually say these words. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but what I sensed is that he felt a collegiality amongst the people that he has worked with over the many years on the Township Committee, and then also amongst the staff and the people that he's worked with within the township. I know myself from my time as a member of the Board of Education, and because my particular responsibility while I was a member on the Board of Education was Personnel Committee. So those issues came to me directly on a 5-member board. It was myself and another member, and a much larger staff, and than the city employs.
Oh, by far, yes, sir.
By far, much larger budget.
Yeah, by far.
All of that by far, and the union that we had to work with as
much more complex by far.
But we seem to be able to manage a collegial relationship, even through contract negotiation periods. So I just wonder about that pure and simple sense, and what that means to maintaining a meeting in just a collegial and civil manner. And if that wouldn't go a big step, and I'm not so sure what I didn't see tonight necessarily didn't kind of get enough of it get spread all around. What I necessarily saw tonight in just the conduct of the meeting, and that is what's largely tying their hands. There's no business that gets done.
And when you discuss, and again, I am not going to say that the others, just as I'm not going to say for myself, I'm not going to say for the other, whether it's 50 or whatever the magic number was, that we all, at least from time to time, if not perhaps more often than not, don't contribute our own toxicity and dysfunction to the environment. We're all human, we're all flawed, we're all sinners, all in need of grace, etc., etc. But the one constant, the one constant is, unfortunately, whether you want to look at it as malignant narcissism, megalomania, sociopath, inability to learn, has the thinnest of skin when it's directed at themselves, but on the other hand is willing to say whatever to anyone else and expect that everyone is supposed to like it. There's probably another name for that, projection, transference, hypocrisy, all of those fit. And that's what it is. And that's not to say that if in 10 months there's a change, means that everything then becomes perfect. It doesn't. By definition, it doesn't. And there are serious sustainability issues for this community, regardless of who sits, well, when they're back to sitting at the dais, who sits at the dais.
Right. Well, yeah.
But if
We don't know what the number is that we just got clobbered with tonight.
you notice that, and I'm sure, and the thing is, I could be wrong, but I'm not so sure it was the plaintiff who wanted it kept confidential. Chuckle, chuckle.
Right. Okay.
I could be wrong, but you know.
The Public Works, was this a Public Works employee?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I just paid my taxes the other day and had a very pleasant conversation with a tax collector.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact made the observation that she was possibly, I think I might have even made the comment that she was the longest employee.
And she may well have
Of
been.
the cities, or certainly one of the longest.
Yep.
And
May well
I
have
forget
been.
exactly what her response was as to which it was, but yes, I know that I came out of the conversation with that distinct understanding.
Yeah.
It was a pleasant conversation.
Mhm.
We'll miss her. I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't get a sense in that conversation that this was imminent, and that was only the other day.
Yeah.
But things, I suppose, change in people's lives. And I might have had some sense. We all, when we get to be a certain age, talk about